The other day, I picked up a book to pass on to a friend, and it's a very hefty tome entitled Western Teachers of Enlightenment. And it gives the lineages of these beings, some of whom have never been to the East, but are now purporting to have the teachings of the Tibetans or the Hindus or whatever it is. And in this tome it lists the various tenets or facts that are the teachings of these so-called enlightened beings, and the statements that they've made. You know, I can transmit the light and give instant enlightenment to people. You know, I'm teaching the intellectual way, and so forth. Each has listed what it is that their purpose is as they see it. And I opened it and I was reading the part about Gurdjieff and Uspensky and their lineages, which is very, very broad. But it got me to thinking all the time with Divine Mother. She would very often say, the age of the gurus is at an end. Now, someone came to visit the other day, a scholar and an academic, very intellectual being, and there was the enjoyment of spending a couple of hours with them. But in the course of that conversation, it came up to make several points with them. Now, many, many years ago, when first going to Brunei to conduct meditations, they asked, what kind of meditation is this? And it was said to them, it doesn't have any name, but you can give it your own name. So over the years, it's now developed into the Om family. And they call me Mother Pat. And that's fine too. But in thinking about this, in speaking to this lovely intellectual being, there were several statements made. And they were, over these years, there's been very great care taken not to allow any kind of organization to form. There's no rules about what you should wear or what you should do and when you should come in any way at all. There are no rules.
Is that a rule?
That's a rule. And the second is to be very careful not to make statements. Not to make statements, this is the way it is, but merely through the stories to allow us to affirm or deny in our own way what it is that the stories bring. And we know from these stories that they have those 4 levels, they have the levels that we can clearly relate to it, whatever place we're at, and they do all contain a secret, the secret which we're all privy to and must come to know and express in our own way. So that being said, we've spoken so long about this state of Satchitananda, existence, knowledge and bliss, the 3 distinct levels of mind. That level which is the level that most people function on, of cause and effect, action and reaction, the karmic level. The spirit level, the level that permeates all, but which is our intuition, our dreams, our inspirations, etc., etc. And that level that few people attain to, many have experiences of and not follow it through, and that is that those times when we know the interrelatedness of life. But at that level we know that's the level where we feel compassion or pity and empathy, the interrelatedness. But I think that we can all confirm and aver from our own experience that, like when we bring water and yeast and flour together and mix them, and they become dough, you cannot separate them again. Can you find any delineation points between now this level of life that we all function in, the spirit level, our intuition, our understanding and awareness, and this level where unbidden compassion and pity and empathy arise? Can we find a dividing line between these three? I would say not. Otherwise we would not be together and come together so frequently and have the understanding that we do. So, that being said, of course there's another story. There's the story of a beautiful young maiden called Fatima. Now Fatima was the daughter of a very successful weaver. He made the most beautiful cloth. And so Fatima knew well the ways of weaving at many levels, with many different elements. But then her father decided that he wanted to go further afield. And so he invited Fatima to come along with him to make travels. And he said, you know, you might even find a handsome prince to marry. So with that thought in mind, Fatima accompanied her father on a sea voyage to take them to a far-flung country. But on the way, the ship foundered in a great storm, and Fatima found herself washed up on a beach, all alone, the ship and her father gone forever. Now, as it so happened, there were a group, a family, who came by and found this very bedraggled young being on the beach. And they happened to be makers of fiber, of rope, of all different kinds. Now they were not very rich, they were quite poor, but having taken pity on Fatima, they taught her their trade, and she was made one of the family. And she had almost completely forgotten about her previous life. Gone. But then, one day, when she was walking on the beach alone, along came a group of slave traders, and they captured Fatima and carried her off to be sold as a slave. Now, in the marketplace, there happened to be a man who was a maker of masts, ship's masts of all different kinds. And he was seeking someone to be a companion to his wife. And taking pity on Fatima, he took her back to his home. But as fate would have it, this mast maker lost everything. He had to start all over again. And he found Fatima a very able worker. Now at this stage, she again had forgotten completely her lives beforehand, even though she went through a period where she felt great self-pity. How is it that everything that happens to me wipes away my life and past? But as it happened, she was given her freedom, being such a good worker. And so the husband and wife and Fatima worked together to make a successful business. And she learned the way of making masts. So, as life went on, and again fate would have it, the maker of masts said to Fatima, "We must broaden our business. I want you to go far afield to sell our masts." So again, Fatima embarked on a ship, and again it foundered at sea, and she found herself washed up on a far, far distant shore, the great land of China. Now, as it happened, in China there had been a heritage, a story, which was handed down from emperor to emperor through the ages, which said that a foreign woman would be washed up on their shores, who would be able to make a tent for the emperor. Now, no one in China knew what a tent was. But at the time that Fatima was washed up on the beach, the town crier of that particular emperor was out abroad reminding everyone that if a foreign woman was found, she should immediately be brought to the emperor. And of course, so it happened. Fatima was taken before the emperor, where she was asked, "Can you make a tent?" And she thought to herself, a tent? Yes, I can make a tent. Bring me cloth. But they didn't in China know how to make the cloth that was necessary to create a tent. So Fatima had to gather together the implements and those elements that could create the strong cloth to make a tent. And she taught these people. And then she asked, "Bring me a rope." But they didn't know how to make the rope that was needed to create a tent. So again, she had to create out of the fibers, and in the process teach them how to make a rope. And so it was with masts. she was able to find the stout tree and show these people how to create a mast, a tent pole. And in the end, the tent was made. We know the end of this story. Fatima stayed in that land. She did marry a wealthy prince and lived happily ever after.
And had lots of babies.
And lots of babies. So, following a line, maybe a metaphorical line, if we look at this Satchitananda and the levels of life that they constitute, Sat, existence, Chit, knowledge, and Ananda, bliss. There's no doubt that we ourselves, from our experience, can clearly see that we've had to pass through these levels. In a sense, dropping what they were, forgetting, so to speak, because you're no longer caught in the reactions that are there at that level of cause and effect. In this level of spirit, experimenting, out-of-body experiences, and all those wonderful things that we perhaps have indulged in exploring the levels of spirit within that one level. But leaving them behind, dropping them in a way. Those explorations, those desires, and even this level of bliss, compassion and pity and empathy. Can you hold on to them anymore? Can you make them real, except when they wash over us at any given moment and then are gone? So if we look at this story and we see this, how does it relate then to Fatima when fate brings her onto this foreign shore and she's asked to make a tent and utilizes all of that knowledge, those things that have been learned, to create a tent? How does this fit in with this question that's being asked? Where are we? And how do we know that we are beyond attachment, bondage to those levels of mind? We can't get caught in the cause and effect. We're not seduced by someone telling us, you're a great healer, you have a healing touch, transmit it to me, touch me on the head and give me enlightenment. We're not seduced. How does it fit with this story, do you feel? How does it work for you? Having dropped all that we've learned, and yet we can make a damn tent, isn't it? What is it? What does it mean? Where is this place? What is it that arises in us at any given moment? Unbidden, not like some computed chunking away. Oh yes, I did that once and I learned that. No. How does it work? How does it work for you?
I think perhaps there's limitations when you lock yourself into those limitations of fear or whatever it is, so that kind of concept's gone, and whatever it is, it's
Absolutely.
okay, it's just
Right.
there's always a way around.
Yeah.
It's like figuring out. As you know, I'm a practical person, so it's always a way of figuring out how you're going to do whatever it is you're going to do. And
Yeah.
you just take it on.
That's
You
right.
just do it.
Okay. So if someone says to us now, can you make a tent? Can you make this? Can you make that? Well, what will we say? Yeah. Yeah. Isn't it so? And yet we wouldn't call ourselves anything. I'm a this or a that. But how does it work? That's what we have to know. How does it work? So the same question arises.